Hi, everybody. Welcome to the fourth of our 5 key concepts for History 430 530. This is sovereignty as a tool. Those of you who had my IS 310 class on the United Nations know that I use this equation of sovereignty over benefits to look at U.S. engagement with possible international agreements and whether we view the trade of our sovereignty worth the benefits we'll get from trading it. Sovereignty over benefits. If any of you weren't in that class and you really wish you had a temporary tattoo that talked about sovereignty over benefits, come on by. I got one for you. In this case, in History 435, we're going to extend the definition of sovereignty and how it's used. The U.S. uses it as a tool. So in this case, we're not using it just to talk about how we engage with potential international agreements, but how we use it in relation to other countries. So sovereignty is the ability of a state, a legal ability of a state to control its own affairs. Those could be domestic affairs, they could be international affairs, it could be business, it could be human rights, it could be the conduct of war, it could be extraction of minerals, it could be almost anything you can imagine. It could be airspace, it could be your control of ocean territory, etc., and on. We use sovereignty as a tool. So for our own purposes, we exert it. We like to exert our sovereignty. And that might mean that we decide that what we want to do trumps what you want to do, and we're going to exert our sovereignty over another state. This would be one where you could say that in so doing, we're going to limit the sovereign ability of other states. You will see, for example, in the 1900s and 10s, through the Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine and through dollar diplomacy, that we essentially decide that to prevent states from having their sovereignty usurped by European countries, we're going to preemptively usurp their sovereignty and go in and occupy some part of their customs house. That's a lot to parse. We'll talk about it in the early part of the semester, but it's the idea that we're going to limit sovereignty for other states as a tool of diplomacy, war, and peace. We're also going to extend it where we see fit. That would mean we can recognize states that are aspirant states that we want to see exist. We're going to give them rights and abilities that others may wish we wouldn't. So we use that as a tool to extend it. We may withhold it from others. For example, in the current era, we often work in the bodies we're part of to withhold sovereignty from the Palestinian aspirant state. So we will use that tool of withholding sovereignty, a recognition of sovereignty there. We'll limit it, we'll share it when we go into international organizations. So think of it as a tool where you extend it, you withhold it, you exert it, you limit it, you share it. We get creative with sovereignty in ways in which we'll come back. So keep that in mind. Maybe the pinnacle of this is when President Trump is talking about America first. He's really talking about the concept of sovereignty and our ability to do what we want to do. And he said we recognize other states have the right to put their priorities first. But when that happens, you've got a mess. And so there has to be some sort of exchange of ideas around sovereignty to have a functioning, mutually respectful, modern international system. Sovereignty is a tool.